You know, I am really honored to receive this recognition, and I thank you for that. Having a strong working relationship with the student leaders from all of the campuses is an important part of my job as speaker and my role as a CSU trustee. So I want to thank you, too, for the A+ grade I got on your last report card. Like all of you, I'm working really hard to keep my grades up this year, too. You know, I think one of the reasons that higher education is so important to me is that I know just how important higher education was to me. I grew up in Southwest Virginia. My parents lived the hard lives of blue-collar workers without health coverage, lower wages than they deserved, no sick leave, and certainly we lived in substandard housing. And yet they instilled in me a desire to learn, and particularly to read, despite their own limited educations. So thanks to scholarships and financial aid, I was able to go to college, and that changed everything for me. One of my professors became an early mentor. I speak with him most Sundays. I talked to him this morning. He showed me how to channel my reaction to the struggles of my parents and my neighbors and turn it into positive work for social justice. He said, imagine the world that you want to live in and then work to create it. And it's exciting to see that so many of you are doing that even earlier than I started as a student. I know that it's frustrating as all of you pursue your academics and your activism. Many of you are doing so in the face of crushing cost and debt. That's one of the reasons I've made college affordability one of our top priorities in the Assembly. Between 2008 and 2012, tuition and fees at UC and CSU almost doubled. During the same years, the state cut funding for universities in response to the Great Recession and an overextended state budget. But we've gotten past that recession. State finances are in solid shape, and they're getting stronger. So there is some room for reinvestment in our universities and in our students. My Democratic colleagues and I are reviewing our budget blueprint. One of the things I've already said that we will be pushing for this year is an additional $150 million for CSU. This is going to help you as students get the classes that you need and help speed graduation times. But we're also looking at ways to expand financial aid, so expenses for things like books and transportation can be included. I'll be able to share more details as the budget process moves forward, and I hope CSSA will be actively involved in that process. A process, I would add, that will be led by the chair of the Assembly Budget Committee, Dr. Shirley Weber, who taught at CSU for more than 40 years. So you are in good hands. I want to acknowledge the CSU trustees for not pushing for a fee increase this year. I think it's a wise recognition that students are already doing more than their share. And while tuition increases are always painful, the current tuition levels are still affordable for some higher income families, and our traditional financial aid programs cover costs for about 55% of all CSU undergraduates. That's why the Assembly led the effort to create the Middle Class Scholarship, and I hope tomorrow, in fact, let me ask you for a favor. As you talk to Assembly members and senators tomorrow, maybe you can talk about if it was important to you or you have friends who've taken advantage of the Middle Class Scholarship. We led the effort in the Assembly to create that scholarship, and you were an integral part in the effort to pass the Middle Class Scholarship. And I want to thank you, Devin, for testifying about the scholarship at the Assembly hearing in Los Angeles. Sharing your experience really does send a powerful message to lawmakers. In fact, it probably is the most impactful thing that you can do, because when we looked at the budget last year, what I remember more than anything were the students that came to me to tell me their personal stories, and it made a difference. The Middle Class Scholarship in its first year, it's in its first year, and it will be fully operational in 2017-18. Once fully implemented, the Middle Class Scholarship will reduce a recipient's annual out-of-pocket tuition cost by as much as $2,200 at CSU. It's already helped more than 81,000 California students at both CSU and UC, with thousands more students eligible in the next application process. In the Assembly, Democrats and Republicans are working together to improve and accelerate the Middle Class Scholarship to give more tuition relief beginning in 2015-16. And while we've given necessary attention to the impact of fee increases on middle-income students, we must also recognize that low-income families have significant higher education costs even though tuition is covered by traditional programs. And that's why we will be proposing grant increases for CSU, UC, and community college students that will cover roughly 40% of the cost of books each year. You should clap at that. Books are expensive. And this measure would reduce the overall cost of a four-year education by about $2,000 for lower income students. Now, looking ahead for CSU, I have to say I was really impressed to hear the 2025 goals that Chancellor White outlined in his State of the CSU address. There's a solid vision for reducing graduation times and improving outcomes for students. Meeting the 2025 goals means that California could have an additional 100,000 more degree holders than we would otherwise. And that's going to be very valuable to our staying competitive in a global economy. Our competitiveness also depends on a lot of those degrees coming in STEM fields, especially for women who are already underrepresented in the tech industry, and according to recent news reports, are leaving it in droves. In the State of CSU report, Chancellor White noted that there are 3 million living CSU alumni, and congratulations to all of you who will be boosting that number this year. That's a reminder of how many lives CSU has changed, the way that Emory and Henry College in Virginia changed my life. And it's a reminder that the state of California must be a strong partner with and an investor in CSU. And I believe the Assembly is and will continue to push for that and be that. And I promise you, I will keep working hard to continue that and to live up to the honor that you've given me tonight. Thank you.